Now we've moved over to the Apps tab. On the Apps tab, this is where we're going to be taking a look at all the various third-party applications that have been authorized into the domain. And what we define third-party applications as is anything and everything that your end users have authorized with an OAuth token. So where they've signed in using their district credentials, and that could be anything from a Chrome extension, a website, application they downloaded on their phone or a school issue device. As long as they're using their school issue credentials and authorizing that OAuth token, that's something we're going to be picking up on. And because that single sign-on button with Google is on so many different places now, and it's very easy for people to authorize permissions very quickly, we tend to see a lot of different applications in any environment there. And to begin with here, you're going to see a number of different ways where we can dive into those applications further, beginning with here, app categories. So app categories is where we're going to go ahead and categorize various applications. This is something we do on our end there, and we try to use pretty standard categories, things you'd say in the Google Play Store, iTunes Store, etc. there. So if we come down and actually search by app category, you have a number of different options available, and this can be very helpful to quickly sort through different applications you might be concerned about. And this is going to be much more of an acceptable use conversation. Do the applications under this category make sense to be authorized into the environment using those district issue credentials or not? Games is a very common category we see a lot of different applications in. There can sometimes be applications that do make sense to be in the environment where they are educational, they have value, but there can be a lot of other applications which don't provide a whole lot of value there, don't serve an educational purpose. Another common category of concern could be things like social applications. These could be anything from various common social media apps to applications that allow end users to chat with random strangers or things of that nature there. There's a lot of those kinds of applications out there. Definitely a really good thing to keep a close eye on as well too. Other categories you could be concerned about would be things like VPN applications, or hopefully you don't have any of these, but sometimes we will even see explicit applications authorized into the environment there. So the app categories is a really helpful way to slice through the applications you're seeing within the environment, and then from there you can start taking some action on things, which we'll get to in just a moment here. Up next there is going to be sanction percentage. So what this is going to be is this is going to be referencing the entire managed methods user base as a whole and saying of the applications in your environment here specifically, what percentage of the managed methods user base has gone ahead and sanctioned any one of those applications. So sanctioning is a tagging system within the platform here. So if we take a look at this bottom application here and you see this icon here with the X through it, the shield icon with the X through it, this is going to indicate to you that this application is unsanctioned. If you see a shield icon with a check mark through it, this is going to indicate to you that that application has been sanctioned. And this is a really easy way to quickly decide if an application is one you know and trust or don't. Very easy to go ahead and apply that sanction or unsanctioned, and all applications are going to be unsanctioned by default. So this is pulling through all those various sanctions from across our user base there. So it can give you some insight to more commonly known and trusted applications versus ones that are not. Do keep in mind though that not everybody sanctions all applications and goes through and creates a very large list. Some people sanction a handful of applications. So as you are reviewing applications, keep in mind that every environment is a little bit different there. Next up is going to be risky apps. So this is a risk score that's going to be generated based on 4 different factors. And those factors are going to be, first off, does the application have admin level access or not? Admin level permission there. If the application does, it's going to be likely under as a critical risk application to begin with. The next factor there is the application unsanctioned for usage. So has the sanction tag been applied yet or not? If it hasn't been applied, it's going to have a much higher level of risk associated with it. In the case of this application here, this application has been sanctioned, so that it therefore reduced its risk level. So instead of being a critical risk app, it's instead now just a high level risk app. Next, that will then be write permissions, and then lastly will be that overall sanction percentage there from the whole user base. So all 4 of those factors will be used to go ahead and determine if an application is critical, high, medium, or low. Critical risks apps are the really ones you want to focus in on. This is where it's a good idea to review these. Generally speaking, these tend to be admin level applications that you do know and trust, but every so often you may run across an application that someone's authorized that doesn't make sense to be in the environment, or has been authorized, or there's some confusion around it. So certainly a good thing to review on the critical side. And then even more from a security perspective, access level is a very important area to take a look at here. These are going to be the applications that have the most powerful access into the core elements of the Google Workspace environment. So what applications have access to view and manage end users' email, view and manage their files and Drive, view and manage user profiles and roles, groups and OUs. These each can be important to dive into and take a look at Email tends to be where we see most applications that are potential cause for concern. There's a lot of applications out there that want access into people's inboxes for whatever reason. This one here is a very common one we see. It's a shopping application. And this one has a lot of access into end users' email. So the scope categories column is going to give you an idea of what access this has. Each of these fields here is going to be clickable. So you can see here, view your email address. But then this is where we get to the more potentially concerning permission. This application has the ability to view your email messages and settings. If this is an application that's authorized onto a staff member's account and that staff member is communicating about sensitive student information or things of that nature, if this application were to get breached in some way, potentially that might give access for a bad actor to dive in and take a look at an end user's inbox. There are applications with even more powerful permissions. There's a lot of third-party email clients out there that have a lot of access, where they have access more akin to this one up here, where they have the ability to read, send, delete, and manage a user's email. They have full access into someone's inbox. So this is really important to keep a close eye on and make sure that the applications that do have that high level access make sense to be in the environment. And again, a shopping application on someone's district account may not make a whole lot of sense. It's also very easy here to see who's using the application as well too. So here we can see, looks like it's one teacher account. In this case, it's using that application. So if we come over here, you also then do have the ability to take action. So as you saw there, there's a sanctioned, unsanctioned, but there's also a revoke. And the revoke is going to go ahead and break the OAuth token for that application. So what that does is it's going to go ahead and sign that user out of the application. And then if they were to try to reauthorize the application, they'd be forced to re-authenticate all the initial permissions. Where we can take that a step further is through policies, which we'll come to in just a moment here, where we can set it up in a way where it will continuously break those permissions moving forward there. Warn will send out a warning message drawing from the warning messages that you would see over on the policy side as well too. And that can be helpful as well if there are applications where you want to go ahead and let users know they may not be applicable or useful in the environment there. And then there's also a share via email here as well too if you just want to pass along high level information to somebody else. Any application you can also click into here. And a lot of times with these applications, you're going to see the same basic information you saw there within the table, with an addition here of the description here. And the description is going to be a hyperlink to where that application is located. Not every application may have this, but many will. And so we'll like to dive into that application further, figure out what is this application? Is this application potential cause for concern? Does it make sense to be in our environment here? And then further down, you can see all the various users listed here. And this is where you have some granular control over if this application makes sense on certain user accounts. So for example, if there's an application where it makes sense for staff members to have it, but not for students, you could come in here and revoke access to those student accounts that have gone ahead and authorized it. And then there are ways we can set policies where if a student OU tries to authorize this application, the platform can be set to just automatically break those OAuth tokens on a continuous basis. Every time they try to sign in, they'll be signed out over and over again there. There is one final component here of the Applications tab, and that's going to be the Register New App section. So the Register New App section allows you to pre-sanction or pre-unsanction applications ahead of time before they actually exist within the environment. Where this can come into play is if we set a policy, for example, on all game applications. But there are a few game applications out there that you do know and trust. You want to make sure that those are allowed through. What you do here is you could add those games, comma separated, add them as sanctioned applications there, and then the platform will recognize those as sanctioned, allow those to be authorized, but everything else that anyone tries to authorize will go ahead and automatically break those OAuth tokens there. You can also do the same thing with the unsanctioned as well too. This would be a case of where the application doesn't yet exist in the environment, but it might be cause for concern there, something you're worried about. You can set it up again to go ahead and break those OAuth tokens there automatically the moment it discovers that those applications have been authorized, or very near after. There's a little bit of a time dependence on how quickly those notifications are passed along from Google there. So do keep that in mind. So next we're going to go ahead and head over to the app policy section and talk about how you can use the information here, and when you do break tokens, those OAuth tokens there, you can then further set up policies to go ahead and take action automatically for you on those third-party applications.